Welcome to Dirty Tea Podcast. This is your girl V Savage, and it has been a while. Your girl has been going through a lot of ups and downs, emotional roller coaster. But thanks for hanging in there with me and still continuing to listen to the episodes and being patient with me with, the gaps in between, because your girl be going through it, but we're still gonna stay positive, make the best of things, and I'm gonna try my best to get you your episodes in a timely manner. However, there's something that I wanted to talk to my podcast fans about, because I've mentioned it in other episodes, but I've never actually really got into it, because I like to keep things light and fun and stick with the comedy, and I don't like getting too serious all the time, but every once in a while you just got to dig deep and dive into it. And this podcast has honestly been such a relief and just therapeutic, and I just love doing it, even if nothing ever comes of it, in a professional standpoint. I love just talking with friends, meeting new people, and just vibing out and just having a good time, and just chatting about different subjects and things. And it's just a lot of fun for me, and it keeps me positive with the stuff that goes on in my personal life. But for those of you that do not know me on a more personal level, I have been battling breast cancer for a few months now, and it has been a struggle, especially going through, chemotherapy that has been, unexpected, to say the least. I thought when I first got diagnosed, I thought maybe, there would be a while or a little bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit of space between, getting hit over the head with that kind of news and then just jumping right into the chemotherapy. But unfortunately, that's how my cards were dealt. And it's just as bad as you would imagine it to be. I have been lucky enough that maybe it's because of my youth or just the supplements that I've been taking. And for any of you that are going through anything similar to that, I would say that the Dr. Sebi Bromicide immunity boost pills have helped me immensely through this process. And my doctors didn't believe that it was good for me until they had a pharmacist double check that the natural ingredients didn't somehow mix in a negative way with the medicines that I was getting through the chemotherapy. But it panned out fine, which I knew it would, because I know how I feel and how my body feels, and it definitely made a world of difference as far as having some sort of energy. It's very difficult to get any type of energy, but I honestly wouldn't have even been able to get out of bed without it. So it definitely helped me a lot, and hopefully that helps somebody else in the future that goes through it. Or if I'm sure the people listening know somebody that has gone through it or is going through it, or maybe you'll meet someone in the future going through it. And that's honestly the best advice that I could give is again, there's different types of chemotherapy, so definitely still consult your doctor about it. But that made a huge difference in my experience, to say the least. And next up is surgery, doing double mastectomy. I see my surgeon on Monday, so we haven't really finalized the details, but most likely it will involve some sort of tummy tuck, and then taking the fat from there and transferring it to reconstruct the breast. So that is called deep flap, and that's most likely the direction we'll be going. And then after that, once they remove, the tumors and everything, they do another biopsy of the tissue and whatever, and make sure that all the cancer is gone. And if so, then the next step would be radiation for 9 weeks, which I think I'm the most scared about that, because I've seen some terrifying pictures and have talked to other people that have gone through it. Luckily, the bad experiences that they had with that, whether it was radiation burns or just whatever, happened more towards the end of it. So that gives me a little relief versus chemo, you're sick through the whole thing, from start to finish. So, that makes me feel a little bit better, but not that much better. It's still a horrific situation. But hopefully, everything is free and clear, and then I won't have to do chemo again. The radiation is just purely for, just to make sure, as much as they can, make sure that it doesn't come back. It's for preventive care, to make sure the cancer doesn't come back in the future. It gives you a better odds, at least. So as much as I don't want to do it, I'm just going to bite the bullet and just give myself my best shot, for longevity. And then there's a long list of stuff that happens after that, but that's the main thing. And it's been really difficult in all aspects, especially professionally, that it's the financial burden of it all. You can't really work. It's difficult to just really do anything for yourself as far as normal things like showering, and you're just so weak is the best way I can put it. It wasn't initially when I heard the news, I in my head thought that, oh my God, I'm going to be puking my brains out it's the flu or something. Unfortunately, that was not the case for me, and which is good. I shouldn't say unfortunately, that's a good thing. But at the same time, there was so many other side effects that were so much worse than actually throwing up. I feel like if I did throw up, I would have felt, you get that sense of relief after. And I just, with the side effects that I had, there was just never any relief until, even now, I've been done with chemo for about 3 weeks. And by now it should be kind of leaving my system. But unfortunately, the side effects can sometimes be permanent or sometimes just take a few months to actually stop. There's just no way of knowing. Time will tell. But the worst part for me was absolutely the hot flashes and the weak feeling, not having energy to do the things that you normally do, even just going up a flight of stairs. It's just the most exhausting thing on earth. It's just weird how the things that you take for granted, you just can't do anymore. Things that seem just such a simple task is just even just washing a sink of dishes. I would have to have a stool to sit there and do some dishes. Not that I should have been doing my dishes, but when you have house full of teenagers, it's really difficult to get them to clean and do the stuff that they should be doing. But, hopefully when they get older, they'll appreciate me a little bit more when they have their own homes to take care of. But, yeah, just even doing something simple like that. Like for me, washing dishes was a way to get my stress and anxiety out. I would take it out on the pots and pans. But even doing something like that was just absolutely exhausting. So it was just weird experience to go through. And then obviously, like, in a romantic relationship, not even just romantic, but just your relationships in general, whether it's platonic or not, it takes a toll, because you don't want to sound like you're constantly complaining by, being vulnerable and telling people how you feel. And you don't want to be negative, and, you don't want people to not want to talk to you, because you don't want them to think like, oh, every time I call her, that's all she's going to talk about. I don't know if I have like the emotional capacity to have, an emotionally draining conversation. So it's like you keep a lot to yourself, and it's not good to deal with stuff in that way, but you kind of just can't help it. And I hope that people who are going through similar, even just any type of illness in general, it doesn't even have to be cancer, but like, join support groups, because I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have an outlet with people who understand and aren't going to judge you or get tired of listening because you might have, negative things to say, or just like feeling down. And it's definitely an emotional roller coaster, and it definitely took a toll in all the relationships really in my life. I think for the better with my children, which is good, but at the same time, I wish it didn't take something as drastic as this to improve our relationship. I wish that would have happened organically, but everything happens for a reason, and it is what it is. And then I was engaged, and unfortunately that didn't work out. And it's unfortunate because, you feel like you're in a relationship where you're like with your ride or die, whatever goes down, we're getting through it together, which, as toxic as our relationship was, I felt like we had that. We've been through so much over the years, like so many ridiculous scenarios, and we always had each other's back through the whole thing. But like, when your partner doesn't know how to deal with you, and it sucks wording it like that, but they don't know how to deal with their own emotions, much less yours, and they end up, just pulling away and getting further and further from being there and being your support system, and they don't even realize they're doing it. And it gets to a point where it's like, this is such a detrimental milestone in both of our lives that you have to know that that person is never going to not be by your side no matter what. And when they start pulling away, whether it's intentional or not, you get that sense of you just don't feel safe. And this is the worst feeling in the world for someone going through something that could be potentially, life-threatening. You need to feel safe, like you have to. And that would be, I don't know what I would do or how I would be. I can't say for sure. I've never don't want to say I've never been in those shoes, not with a partner, but I've been in that kind of scenario with close friends of mine, and I did everything and anything I could to be there for them physically and emotionally. And if it was someone I was living with, that would have been even times 1,000. Like, I would be running home from work to care for them. Like, that's just me and my personality. And I felt like that same energy I needed back. And, fortunately, I was at first, but people get emotionally exhausted and they just stop doing the things that they were doing before. And in a person in my position, I can't have somebody give up, and that's to say to, other people who are in a position where they're caring for somebody who is sick, you can't give up. Like, and if you feel like you can't be that person, you need to leave immediately. Like, in the beginning, some of my, I call them pink sisters from my support groups. Like, one of them, her boyfriend of like 2 years decided, to break up with her after, her chemo was over and everything else. And she was absolutely devastated because she was blindsided and never saw that coming. And he said that he just stayed with her because of her cancer. Like, he didn't want to be that guy that left because, she got diagnosed. And I feel like that's even worse, because if he would have left in the beginning, yeah, she would have labeled him a douchebag, but at least she wouldn't have dove in wholeheartedly in her emotions. Because when you're going through something like this and you feel like your partner is there for you 1,000%, that's going to make your feelings get so much more deeper. And it didn't have to get to that point, and I feel like that was more hurtful, that, she felt like she had that person that was going to be there for her, and it was just ripped out from under her. But yeah, it's just like, it's a crazy situation to be in on both ends. I'm not going to downplay it. It's hard to know what people need from you or want from you. So it's very important to be as vocal as possible in your needs and your expectations. And I think that goes for both sides of the story, because you need to have the best communication possible to get through something like this. And it's not easy. It's definitely not on either way. But I feel like I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned how to be a better communicator. As a matter of fact, one of my besties was like, "You are sassy since you got your diagnosis." Like, I think I have always been a straight shooter before, but I was very filtered in what I say, when I say it, and how I say it. Now I have just like zero control over what comes out my mouth, because it's just like, you just don't know. Like, even though, yes, technically the chances of survival with breast cancer, depending on which one, and what stage you're at. But for the most part, breast cancer is pretty curable, and it's not, something to worry about like other types of cancers. But me, I just feel like you can't go based off of statistics with something as unpredictable as cancer. You need to just live it day to day and just get through each day as they come and just hope you win on top at the end, because there's so many complications that could happen. The cancer can learn to travel. You can have, complications throughout surgery. You can have complications to like allergies to the medicines. There's so many things that can go wrong. And even though I try to be as positive as I possibly can, at the same time, I'm a realist, and I know that I have to be prepared for things like that. And especially having children, if I didn't have kids, it would be a different story. It'd be like, whatever happens, happens. And, I had a good run. But when you have children that you're worried about and you need to make sure that they're all okay, I think it makes a way bigger impact. And you just realize all the time that's been wasted on bullshit relationships, on friendships even that you nurtured for so long that you probably shouldn't have. It's just your priorities, like, literally just clear up, like fog clears up. Like, I felt like I lived 38 years in a fog, like just strolling through, hoping that it separates at some point and I can see where my path is supposed to be. And I just haven't. And it's just, I've been just blindly living life. And now that I have like these special goggles on that are just defogging everything. And now it's just like, you know what you want. You know what you're worth. You know what is good for you and what isn't. Like, it's literally like you just had an epiphany. And I can't even explain it, because like it really started from this one conversation with this woman who I forget, I think she had intestinal cancer, and I want to say colon cancer. And she had 4 sisters that died of all different types of cancers. One being breast cancer. At least one had breast cancer. They might have all had breast cancer, but I know she had intestinal and colon cancer. But I noticed on like her debit card, she had the pink ribbon, and I was just like, I love that. And I showed her the pink ribbon tattoo that I just got on my ankle, and I was like, I'm going through it myself. And that's when she proceeded to say, like, she had a different type of cancer, but she was like, my sisters had breast cancer. And each one of them died in the past 4 years, one each year. Boom, 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 boom. And she was basically like, the only reason I'm even doing treatments is because my husband really pushed me to, and I'm literally just doing it for him. I know it's not basically going to make a difference in her fate, because it has been so lethal in her family, and that she was basically just waiting to die. But even in saying all that, like, I've never met anybody so calm, cool, collected, and just like, but I've done everything on my bucket list. I've seen my grandkids get married. I've done everything I needed to do in my life, and I am A-okay with going whenever. At any minute, I'm going to die a happy woman. And I was just never I've never been envious of anybody in my life. Like, never. I'm that cheerleader hoping everybody succeeds. Like, even my enemies. Like, yes, did I hold grudges in the past? Absolutely. Do I hold grudges sometimes now? Maybe like one or two. But for the most part, I think I've forgiven everybody in my life. And I just feel like I was so envious of her peace. I've never had peace like that in my entire life. It's always, always, always been an emotional roller coaster, financial roller coaster. But it's like, it's different with money because there's always ways to make money. And I know even if I'm down, I'll figure a way to get what I need. And so and I've always been like a workaholic and a go-getter. So that's, one thing that I can always persevere in. It's made it difficult with this situation because I can't, work a second job to make what I need to make. I can't even work one job. Like, it's been rough as far as figuring that stuff out. But like, even still, I know I'll figure it out somehow, some way. So I'm not really letting it stress me to the max, but like, it's been the emotional side that has been the absolute worst about the whole thing, because you just start realizing stuff about your life, and the life you've lived and the life that you're going to continue to live is two separate, totally different things. And I've been coasting by with relationships that I was comfortable with my whole life because I was terrified of being alone. And I know that loneliness was debilitating and crippling for me. But now I've had more moments than I can count where I was homesick by myself, where no one was checking on me, nobody was even home. And for weeks that went on, and I just felt like I've never felt more alone in my entire life than in those moments. And to be able to persevere through that and take care of yourself, no matter how difficult it was, as far as like just getting up and doing, the simple things like taking a shower and using the bathroom and feeding yourself. These were like real life obstacles for me. And I was taking care of myself and doing it all on my own. And I just felt like an empowerment of, yeah, this was fucking scary doing this by myself. But you know what? I fucking did it. And I didn't need anyone. And I got through it. And maybe being alone isn't so terrifying. Like I don't want to say it's not terrifying. It is terrifying, but I survived. You know what I mean? Like, when you feel a sense of like, I survived this, I can do it, then I wasn't afraid of being alone anymore, if that makes sense. And, as hurtful as it was to end the relationship for good, and as much as I love that I have for that person, I have to live for myself and live for what's going to make me happy. And if I feel like someone is not making me happy, then I just have to move on from that and do what's going to be best for me and what's, because you just don't know how many moments you have anymore. And you have to make sure that every moment is memorable in a good way and in a positive way. So cheers to me. I am putting my foot down with a lot of different things in my life, and I'm been so proud of how I have evolved through all this, and how I've just become the woman that I've become. In the last few months, I've evolved like a 360 turn. It's crazy. I will never be the same person again, and it's for the best, and it's for the good. And I'm just excited to live my new future, because the old future that I had, I wasn't excited about. I was stressed about. And now I'm excited for what's to come, and I'm excited to see what else I'll persevere, And again, I'm just going to live my life and try to get healthy and do what I need to do, and in between do as many podcasts as I possibly can. But there may be some gaps, like I said, surgeries coming up, a lot of different things coming up. So just be patient with me and keep watching out for Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, dirty_t_podcast, and that way you can keep up with the new episodes that are coming up and whatnot, and any future events that I'll be in, because I am going to an album release party for A. Marquise coming up pretty soon. So I will send a shout out to that if anybody wants to come say hello. And thanks again for listening, and we'll talk again soon. Good night.